Hello everyone, Ryan here. An Indigenous People's History of the United States by Roxanne Dunbar-Ortiz. So I recently listened to this audiobook version of an actual physical book. And it's definitely very interesting, well-researched, well put together. And of course it's about one of those topics that has for too long been omitted from many history books. Chiefly a lot of history textbooks. Essentially, for me, it verified what I had already known for quite some time, and that is that people like Christopher Columbus, Hernan Cortez, a lot of other European explorers, also Andrew Jackson, they were all assholes. Granted, I know you could make the argument that, we don't know what they experienced during their lifetimes. Obviously, there was different guidelines, different laws back then. But for me, still, I figure by today's standards, we can call them assholes. I mean, because they essentially were part of, or rather, no, they were very instrumental in mass extermination of entire generations of indigenous peoples. And they were, not only encouraged to do so, but at the same time, after doing so, having their many minions, quote unquote minions, after they were successful in being a part of the mass extermination of indigenous peoples, they were hailed as heroes. And they ended up being written about in the history books because of the fact that they, became synonymous with the mass extermination of so many generations of these, innocent indigenous peoples. Now, of course, I say innocent because they did murder a lot of children as well. It wasn't just, men, and it wasn't just some of these people from different tribes who committed certain crimes or whatnot. They actually, as far as, for one example, when Andrew Jackson, during his time, he actually ordered people to go into different villages and just kill everybody that was residing in these villages. That included men, women, and children, and elderly people too, if there were any there. And not only that, but then after they were killed, these soldiers, these men who were hired by Andrew Jackson to do this killing, afterwards, which this part kind of got to me a little bit, but, they actually used the skin, or rather, they kept body parts of some of these different people, these innocent people, and made souvenirs out of them. They actually, there's one, it's just really terrible, but they actually used some of the skin from these people that they killed to use as hide for saddles, to cover their saddles, on which they would sit on their horses. And not only were people like Andrew Jackson hailed as heroes, but then also the very men that murdered these innocent people, they were also hailed as heroes. And they would go back to their hometowns, afterwards, and then brag to everybody about, how many, how many children they killed, how many women they killed. And I mean, that's really messed up. I mean, come on, that's really messed up. I mean, you think about it, something like that were to occur today, there's no way that, everybody would be okay with that. Trying not to get too emotional here, but that's, and excuse my language, but that is fucked up. That is seriously fucked up. And yeah, so and there's a lot of other examples throughout this audiobook. Again, most of which I kind of already knew about, but there were a couple of things, such as, that whole souvenir thing that definitely shocked me. But yeah, for me, in my opinion, I feel like this is definitely a topic that should be talked about a lot more. Definitely needs to be taught in more schools. Definitely needs to be written in textbooks and needs to be a part of every other aspect of history that is taught to students. Maybe not. Obviously for younger kids, younger students, don't tell them about any of the graphic details, but at least, tell them about the fact that, hey, that's before the founding of America, there were already people here. And yeah, there were a lot of people, that were hailed as heroes back then, who, by today's standards, would obviously not be hailed as heroes, because they were very instrumental in the mass extermination of a lot of indigenous peoples. And I don't know, maybe that is being taught in schools today. As far as I know, I don't think it is, because I don't have kids of my own, but I do have nephews. As far as I know, they're not being taught that in school, and it's a shame. It's really a damn shame. I don't want to rattle on and on about this, because there were also some parts that really just were so filled with so many details that kind of got me down a little bit, but at the same time, it, angered me, made me frustrated, made me want to do something. But yeah, what can I do other than just, review this to the best of my ability and just recommend that everybody listens to this audiobook or read the physical book version of it at least once and share it with everyone people in your family, your friends, your community. Just in order to make sure that such a topic is not completely forgotten and completely lost, and because it's definitely important, I feel. Otherwise, it's just, we're going to be doomed to repeat all of these terrible things that have already occurred way too many times in the past. So, yeah, overall, I give this audiobook 5 out of 5 stars. Again, definitely well researched, well put together. So that'll do it for my review of An Indigenous People's History of the United States by Roxanne Dunbar-Ortiz. Thanks for watching. As always, till next time, keep it real, keep on rocking, and peace.